Hey guys, thanks for tuning back in. My name is Adisa and this is Culture Talks, a platform/podcast which I created as an open space and which we can discuss topics surrounding self-improvement, healing, and anything that could possibly keep us from growing and evolving, and hopefully come up with solutions that make ourselves and the world a better place. As a Black woman, this is a safe space for people of color, but everyone is welcome as long as your intention is healing. So, in my last episode, I briefly touched on what I thought was the problem when it comes to unhappiness and dissatisfaction in our lives. But since the episode was released, I keep thinking about what else could keep us from being happy and satisfied in our lives. Since I've been hearing different perspectives, and I'm sure that each and every one of us has their own individual reasons that keep us from being happy, the reoccurring topic for me is failure. So, in this episode, I want to talk about something that I think especially millennials, but people in general, struggle with, and that is fear of failure. So, let's get into it. What is fear of failure? So, fear of failure is when you allow the fear that you have to stop you from doing things that can move you towards your goal or towards achieving your goal. And I think for a lot of us, especially millennials, we struggle with fear of failure because there's endless opportunities around us. Because nowadays, there's so many ways of doing things, so many ways of becoming something, exploring something, getting somewhere. And that puts a lot of pressure on us to achieve something because we feel like we're wasting precious time if we're not go-getters and get somewhere as quick as possible. Which is kind of amplified by social media, where you see every Johnny trying to sell you a dream of how to do the impossible in 30 days, become a millionaire in 30 days, buy your mama a house in 30 days, get yourself a husband in 30 days, all of that shit. So even when you have a goal, you just feel like you need to get there as quick as possible, and there's no excuse for you whatsoever to not get there, which is overwhelming as fuck in itself. So, what happens when you're overwhelmed? For me personally, I'll get into a confused state, I procrastinate, and it kind of feeds into the fear of failing because I feel like I'm wasting precious time. But so what I want to discuss now is just some tips and tricks that help me kind of overcome that and help me make slow but steady progress and keep me from falling into the trap that's fear of failure, basically. First and foremost, how does fear of failure show up in your life is what you should ask yourself. There's different ways each and every one of us experiences fear of failure. And for some of us, it kind of looks like something like self-sabotage, which is something I struggle with, which is, for example, procrastination, excessive anxiety, or just failing to follow through with your goals. So basically, you have an idea, but you work yourself up so much about that idea that you just end up procrastinating and not following through with what you set yourself out to do. For some of us, it's low self-esteem or self-confidence. So you will commonly make negative statements like, I'll never be good enough for this. I'm not smart enough for this. I could never do that. I'm not good enough, basically. And then for others of us, it's perfectionism. So yeah, you're willing to try, but you're not gonna. Wow, how's my fucking alarm gonna ambush my episode like this? Where was I? I don't even know. See, that just threw me off. I was on a roll, beach, wherever. So, for some of us, it's perfectionism. Okay, that's what I struggle with as well. I'm not even going to lie to y'all. And it's the willingness to try only those things that you know you're going to finish perfectly and successfully. So you're not even willing to try anything if you don't feel like you're going to be the best at what you're doing, which in itself is not really that bad, but it is if it keeps you from actually doing whatever you need to do. So let's get into some things that I use to help myself get over the initial fear of failing at something. So first things first, you need to have a goal. So setting a goal is so important, because if you have no goal, you have no direction. So you'll just be stuck in one place because you haven't defined your goal, so you can't define the way to even get there. And I know for a lot of us that might be uncomfortable to set a goal, especially if you struggle with low self-esteem and self-confidence. But a trick that I use is to set small goals. So let's say your goal is recording a podcast and you're not sure about the content. Do something every day that's gonna help you get towards that goal. So let's say you want to release a podcast in 2 months. So every day you do something small to get you there. So say today you would read a book or an article, or you would write down some topics, or you would do other research. Like, I don't know, whatever that is for you, but setting small goals that are slightly challenging but not too overwhelming, and that kind of gives you a bit of a feeling of you doing something, like early wins basically, and that helps you boost your confidence and even get to a point where you'll just continuously work and slowly but steadily get to where you want to get to. So the first one is setting goals. Second one is analyzing all potential outcomes. So a lot of us, we fear failure because of the fear of the unknown. So when you remove the fear and you just look at all possible outcomes, it sometimes really helps just to put things into perspective. But because what could really happen? And even if the worst case scenario happens, what would that mean? Would you die? Would you not be able to live anymore? What would happen? What would be the worst thing that could happen if you tried? And in most scenarios, at least for me, at the end of the day, it wasn't even actually anything that bad. So that really helps me to put things into perspective and keep myself from talking myself into anything that couldn't really possibly happen. So another one that I said I struggle with self-sabotage. So another one that you can use to neutralize self-sabotage is having a plan B. So if plan A doesn't work for whatever reason, what is your plan B? Have something to fall back on, so that if your initial plan doesn't go to the way you want to, you always have something to fall back on. And also be be patient with yourself and give yourself the time, the space to adjust your vision along the way, because sometimes you set yourself out to do something and then once you actually start doing it, you realize that you're not even going to be able to achieve the goal the way you thought you would, but you are still going to be able to achieve the goal, just not the way you thought it would go. And then last but not least, I would love to say that sometimes fear of failure is just a symptom of a more serious problem. So that could be a mental health condition, and childhood trauma. So if you didn't have supportive parents and you were always made to feel that all of your ideas were dumb, that can have a serious effect on your mental health now as an adult. So don't rule that out completely if you feel like all of the tips that I have just presented are not for you or not working. I would definitely say maybe try and get different professional help. Let your mental health be assessed. And we're going to talk about mental health as well, because I know some of y'all just listen to that and we're like, what, me? I'm not crazy. I don't need therapy. I don't listen, okay? Therapy and all of them things does not mean you're crazy. If we would all go to therapy, oh Lord, the world would definitely be a more chilled place. Let me tell you, day one for sure. But yeah, I really hope that these tips and tricks helped, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. This is only the second episode, so I'm still kind of figuring things out. So definitely give me feedback and keep sharing, keep listening. Thank you guys so much for listening to the end. Follow us on Instagram at Culture Talks Pod, on Twitter at Culture Talks, and tune back in. Thank you guys so much. Bye.